Hey, how's it going? I'm Chris with PearsonCopy.com, and I'm here to help your brand make more sales with email. Today, as a part of my 100 emails in a 100-day challenge, I'm going to break down an email from a brand called Knack. They offer day or short trip travel bags that you can pack up and take for a day or a couple days on a trip. And essentially, the reason I picked this email is because I've been stalking their brand and getting their emails for a couple months now. I think what they're doing with the email is pretty great. Obviously, there's some things that I would like to test if I was behind the scenes with them, just see what we could do to increase opens, clicks, and obviously sales. So, with that being said, I'm going to dive into the context of this email because it's important. With this email, it's important to know what the context is so that we can approach breaking it down properly. The main thing here, this email is a content driven email. So it's basically sending out an email saying, as the subject line here reads, what to pack for a weekend in New York City. There is not a direct link to a product in this email. It's literally just going to a blog article, which is a great thing depending on who you send it to in your list. But with that context, that's where we're going to break this email down from, is because if we're breaking this down off like a direct offer, this email is not doing the job. But as a content driven email, trying to build a relationship with your subscribers, sending this to people who are potentially on your list that haven't purchased yet, but they keep opening emails, they keep visiting your site, they keep getting your automations like your Ben and Cardigan browser, but they're not buying. Maybe they just need more time to build a relationship or connection with your brand. And so that's the context of this email is, and that's something I noted here in my comments is, I'm hoping and assuming that Knack is sending this type of email to the part of their list that are the people or the subscribers who have not purchased yet, but they keep engaging with emails. So they're just trying to build a connection relationship with their list. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead with that context. I'm going to go ahead and break down this email for you. This one is a shorter email, so it shouldn't take as long as prior videos. But there are some gold nuggets in here I think you could pull out and use to make more sales with your own brand and your own emails that you send. So let's dive in. Again, the subject line, what to pack for a weekend in New York City. This is definitely content driven. It's giving a what to do or how to do. And the cool thing about this is, the article that they link to actually essentially interviews people from New York that say, hey, if you're giving people that are coming into the Big Apple, into the city, what kind of advice would you give them? What would they pack? What should they bring? And so that's what this article is basically asking people from New York to say, hey, what would you bring if you were traveling, or if somebody were coming to visit, what would you tell them to bring? Which I think is a cool angle, using local advice to support people that are coming to the city. So yeah, I think this is a fun title. It's alluding to content-driven email, and it's specific to people who are traveling to New York. The sub benefit here is that anybody that's traveling to any big city, they can get benefit from this because they can say, oh, that's what people would say to bring to New York City. Maybe that's some stuff I could take to Chicago or Miami or some other city that maybe is a little larger or bigger, and it's a city. So what would you bring in a day pack, right? So let's go ahead and move down. Just a little bit further down here is the from name. So this is pretty standard for brands. They usually use their brand name and then an info at, support at, customer service at, domainname.com. Something that I'm going to say a lot in these videos, I've already said in the first video, and this one I'm going to say it again. This is something that Knack could potentially test, is that if they're trying to get people who have not purchased that are on their list to buy, converting or changing this from name into maybe a first name at the brand with the first name at domain.com, that could increase open rates and engagement because it actually feels like the email is coming from a real person and it's not just from a brand. The other behind the scenes benefit of this is if you start sending from making the emails feel like it's from an actual person, people will start seeing those emails end up in their inbox, in their primary tabs, like in Google, or in their primary inboxes, as opposed to the promo tab. One of the big hurdles when it comes to emails ending up in the promo tab is it's brand emails that's not from a real person. People stop opening them. Maybe they click and open, and they don't engage after that, and various things that making it from a real person, your email from a real person could help with those deliverability issues that you could be facing, or why you could be in the promo tab a lot. There's a lot more technical stuff in the background, but this is a very quick, easy change on the front end that you could make as a brand to help with that, to end up in the main inbox or primary tab. So that's a few notes there. Real quick here, the free shipping on all orders over 50 plus, pretty standard feature, big promise there. That's pretty standard. It's pretty great. I think that's great offering that. Another thing too, similar to the first video that I did with the brand, if you want to go see that, go watch it on my YouTube channel. But Knack uses a simple, clean logo, a little symbol, and then their brand name, and then they're out of the way. I think brands could be doing more of this, is getting out of the way and letting the customer get to the content or the relationship building process, so that the sale can happen, or the relationship can start building, the connection can be made. So I like that. The title, bag for the big city. Again, like I mentioned with the subject line, specific to New York City, but a bag for the big city could mean any city, any big city that you're traveling to. This bag, Knack's bag, or this advice could apply to. They're just getting really specific with New York locals advice for people traveling in or visitors, right? So that's something that's subtle here, but I think is a great move. Is that instead of saying a bag for the Big Apple, it's going specific with New York City and then going general to a bag for the big city, which still applies to New York, but it could also apply to Chicago, LA, any other big city that people may be traveling to. Something I appreciate a lot here with this image is I tend to lean away from images. I like plain text, I like stories. But something that I notice here is with this image, the brand actually put their bag inside this image. So at first glance, I was like, okay, this image is a little much. We don't need that to get people into a blog post. But because it's branded and I'm assuming this is location in New York, I haven't actually done a reverse image search. So if it's not, let me know. But they're actually using branded images or custom images that they're taking and also putting their product in the image. This is fantastic. It's just that little extra touch that once you realize it, it's like, oh, cool. They're actually in New York doing this. It makes it feel like Knack actually cares, that they're actually doing this, and it's not just all email communications. So yeah, that's something I wanted to point out and say, great job. I really like it when brands do go that extra step, that extra few steps just to make it feel real. Okay, moving down, this first paragraph, I already mentioned a few times now, but essentially, the angle here that Knack's taking is like, hey, if you're traveling to the big city, the Big Apple to New York, we have interviewed some New York locals and what they think should go on a New York packing list. So if you're to go to New York for the weekend or for a couple of days or whatever, this is what locals say you should bring and put in your bag. This angle is great. I think it's fun. It's definitely content first. It's definitely adding actual value to the customer, saying, hey, if you're going to New York, this is what you should take. And they're doing the work to get that from locals. So it's not just somebody in an office somewhere or in their office somewhere writing an article that they've spun off of some other articles online. They're actually pulling advice from real people. And this is one of the reasons I like Knack too, is they feel real. It feels like a real company doing real things, helping real people. And I think it's a cool angle. Let's see here. The next section here, one item that came up, a good day pack is the ultimate everyday carry. So yeah, they do a subtle pitch here, but they don't link to a product. They just say, hey, if something that came up while they were talking to these New York locals about a packing list is like, hey, if you can bring a day bag or a day pack, you want to do that. And Knack uses the opportunity to say, hey, most of them talk about having a day bag. Use ours, get ours, and take that, and then they link out to the blog, which is pretty standard, right to the blog. Something I mentioned is maybe adjusting the CTA to get New York locals advice on a packing list, or just something more specific than read the blog. Maybe the article title, maybe a quote of like, this is what one of the interviewees said about a packing list in New York. Click here to find out more. More specific tends to lead to higher click-through rate. Not always, but usually that's the rule. There could be an exception here, but that's something I would test with the CTA. The final three pieces here of this email, get help from real people. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, Knack feels real. They're real people doing real things, helping real people, right? And they do that here with this link, and they just remind people this is who we are, and this is what we're doing, which I think is great to remind their customers, or sorry, their subscribers who have not purchased yet, letting them know what they're about and who they are. That's fantastic. And then again, get free returns and exchanges for 30 days. This is a huge deal because potentially you could buy one of their day packs, travel to New York for 4 days, love the bag, come back, keep it. Or if you don't like it or you want to get a different kind, you can return or exchange, and there's not a big deal. They give a 30-day guarantee here, which is can help people make that purchase of, I don't know if I'm going to like this bag. I need it in my hands. I need to unzip it. I need to put my stuff in it, see if it fits. That gives people the opportunity to use the bag and removes that friction of that first hurdle of saying, add to cart, click complete purchase, and get their bag. Like it helps remove that friction. So I think it's a great thing that Knack did here. And then the final piece of this email, standard socials, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and then also your standard footer information. So that's pretty much for this breakdown. Again, I like Knack. I like the way their brand's doing email. There are a few things, if I was behind the scenes, that I would tweak and update, maybe test. I'd imagine they're already testing this stuff. So if they are, great. If not, I hope that they start testing it. And I hope that this video was helpful to you. And you can take some of the ideas and some of the things that I pointed out here and back to your brand to help you make more sales with email. Thanks for watching, and check out my other videos on my YouTube channel. See you later.